Greek architecture is still incredibly influential to the present day. The first and most important thing that you need to learn are what we call the three Greek classical orders of architecture. That is the Doric, the Ionic, and the Corinthian. Those will be very important to learn. And I also want you to take a look around St. Louis and see if you spot some of those classical orders in some of the architecture of St. Louis. The Doric was the oldest, and it was very simple. And we know from the writings of a very famous Roman architect named Vitruvius that the Doric was also considered to be the most masculine and most stocky. It was very simple. It had a shaft, which is the body of the column, and it has a capital, which is the top of the column that attaches to the roof of the temple. The Doric was the oldest, and we see that in many famous temples, such as the temples at Paestum, and also on the Acropolis in buildings such as the Parthenon and also the Propylaea. Now, the Ionic order was a little bit more ornate, and it had a base, and it was more slender. Vitruvius tells us that it was the more effeminate architectural order and used for female gods' temples. It had scroll work on the top, which we call volutes, and it was much more ornate overall. Now, also very importantly, the Greeks even realized this, the Ionic order didn't look very good on corners. So consequently, we primarily see Ionic capitals in the middle of buildings. The Corinthian order then was largely invented in order to sort of correct for the problems that the Ionic order had, which was the fact that it didn't look good on corners. So there are still very, very small volutes on the capital of the Corinthian order, but there are now a large number of decorative leaves from the acanthus plant. So I want you to be able to very easily distinguish the major characteristics of those. Remember, the Doric was very simple, no base, and a very stocky shaft. Then the Ionic has the volutes, the curly Q-shaped little scrolls up at the top with a base, is more slender. And then finally the Corinthian order, which, just to review, has the acanthus leaves flowering up at the top of the shaft of the column in the capital. So important buildings to learn about, of course, is the Parthenon. There's going to be a video that you need to watch to learn about this most important of ancient Greek temples. Also, very important temples, such as the ones at Paestum, will be looked at in another video that will show you visual images of what these three classical orders look like. So when you get done with those, there'll, of course, will then be a discussion question that you'll need to answer for me.